Todd is back.
Yeah.
You are so sought after. Once we put an episode with Todd up, the fan mail, the emails, the texts.
Actual letters were written, Todd.
Handwritten letters.
Handwritten letters.
Handwritten letters.
Was it in my handwriting?
It seemed oddly familiar. Yeah. I was like, I didn't know that we had such a big following in St. Augustine. That's weird.
Signed T.O.
Crayon. It was in crayon. But anyway, we've been asked this question numerous times, and we felt like it's time to attack it. And the question is, how do we prepare ourselves should this happen again?
Fern, why don't you go ahead? You told us something before we started. What's going to happen again?
There is no again. It's not happening. I'm not going to abide. I'm going to start a militia, and we're gonna secede from the United States, and we're gonna start my own state. That's how it's gonna work.
So the things are slowly opening up, from what I understand. In full disclosure, I don't really follow the news, but things are starting to open up. My opinion, people are going to rush this. We're going to be right back to where we are. We need to be prepared to start it again. What is that going to look like from A, what the government tells us to do, and B, from what the boxes are going to do?
So which direction do you want us to go here? Do you want us to talk about what we do to open back up, or to prep for
let's start first. Let's start first with this. Do you guys agree with me? As soon as things start to open, we're going to see another spike.
Of course. There's no other option.
So, right, which is, well, the options are, from what I understand, we just, let's go back to normal living. People are going to get it. People are going to die. There's option one. Option two is we have these phases that things get rolled out, which will slowly, of course, increase the spread. Or option three is we stay completely quarantined until there's a vaccine.
Option three is not an option.
So option three is out. I agree with you.
It's out.
I'm going to do it regardless.
For a lot of reasons. Well, so that's not an option for a lot of reasons. The first and foremost is, so then if that's what we're going to do, then what's the number, right? So there's two kind of like stones being thrown. The first one is, hey, you just want people to die at the expense of the economy. And then the other one, which nobody was talking about, is like, okay, what's the number of unemployment that justifies opening up the world again? Like, is it 40,000 people, like, or 40 million people? Like, so, we have to talk about that. There's repercussions for unemployment. The other thing is, it is highly, highly unlikely that there will be a vaccine at all. Everybody's talking about this 18 months thing. It is highly unlikely that there will be a vaccine at all.
Why do you say that? Why do you think there'll be a vaccine?
Google vaccines, how they're developed, how long they typically work, and then look at, they failed to develop vaccines for MERS and SARS. They don't have vaccines for those, and they tried to have vaccines for them. We have a vaccine for the flu that, quite frankly, does not work.
What do you mean it doesn't work?
How many people die from the flu globally every year? Do you have any idea?
A lot. I don't know the number.
Millions. If this is something that we have a vaccine for, right? So, because the flu is an evolving virus, right? So, and there's nothing to say that this isn't going to evolve, right? So it's not going to be this thing where like you're going to be able to get rid of it. It's not smallpox, where like you have a vaccine and nobody ever gets it again. It's a respiratory virus. So, and if you do any research on that, 18 months is the fastest humanly possible, and that is highly unlikely. You typically have to do a year of human trials before you would see a vaccine that would come out, and we're not even anywhere close. So,
what do you think? Do you agree with this?
I don't have anything to add to this. I'll let Jay. He sounds more educated in it than I do. So
Fern's got a bunker
at this point.
And guns. And lots of canned beef.
I do not have a bunker. I do have guns. I do not have a bunker. I do have guns.
Guns and toilet paper. He's all
so set. So the one, so the option that people have not talked about. So there's this phased opening, which is arbitrary at best, right? Like it's a spin the wheel and we'll just pick what business is open, right? With no kind of real forethought for like how they actually work, right? And not perfect, but a good example of that is the grocery stores are open, obviously because they're mandatory. People have to eat. But it is the one thing that everybody in society has to go do. So if you're going to contact trace anybody, just have somebody set up in the grocery store and we'll contact contact trace the world from the grocery store, but people have to go there. For instance, like we never go to the grocery store. We usually do like Amazon Prime delivery. They don't do that anymore. So now we have to go to the grocery store 4 times a month to get groceries because they're limited on what you can take. So now, for instance, like my wife's exposure is up. So anyway, so that being said, I think my personal opinion is they should adopt something that looks more like Sweden, which is like, if you are not old or sick, you should go back to normal life. You're probably going to get sick. The likelihood of you dying is virtually zero. Everybody else, you should stay in some sort of quarantine and take care of yourself.
The stipulation also with that, though, is if you're somebody that has exposure to that same population, you need to stay away as well, right? Because it's not just like, hey, if my elderly grandmother lives with me, well, she shouldn't leave, but it's cool for me to go and do whatever I want to because I'm coming back home and expose it to her as well. So I think that's the tougher part of that is like, how many of us have exposure to the demographic that we're trying to protect? And if it was as simple as they stay home and we do our thing because we're healthy enough to be fine, I wish it was that easy, right?
I mean, Sweden's numbers have proven to be like, they're like the mean as far as like deaths and exposure and death rate and all that stuff. And that's exactly what they've done. And they've not shut down the economy. They just said, hey, if you're old, if you're sick, you need to stay at home, and we'll do our best to accommodate keeping you from getting exposed and make sure that society like takes care of them. So I just don't like the keeping the economy closed is we're printing money. I mean, you know this better than anybody, Todd. Like the inflation's coming, like the repercussions of this are 10x.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I'm not disputing that at all. So it's just, it is an interesting dilemma, obviously, right? It needs to open back up at some point. There's going to be more risk as soon as it starts to open back up. So I think it's our job as affiliate owners or business owners in general to do whatever we can to try to limit that exposure and limit that risk.
So on that, right? So let's assume they open up, and let's go down best case scenario, which is gyms are included in phase 1 in this phase opening plan. If you haven't read it at the White House is and that goes state by state. States don't have to take that advice; they can make up their own. But let's assume that gyms in your state are phase 1. The assumption is that there's going to be some sort of limitation on bodies in the building.
Yeah, whether that's the number that's been thrown out of no more than 10 people, right? Or if it's based on square footage of your space or something like that. So depending on what our rules are, you just try to adapt to that. And I think the main focus will be to try to create a space that allows the social distances that's necessary to allow a limited exposure of equipment being used by multiple people or people getting too close to each other. So I look at my space here, and I think it would be feasible and it'd be easy to set up essentially areas for the athletes that I'm going to have with inside the walls of my gym, where we pre-stage the equipment that's going to be used. And, for the first, who knows how many weeks or potentially even months, it's probably going to be a pretty limited programming schedule, similar to what we've been doing with people at home, just a little bit more barbell and a little bit more options here, but I'm still going to keep it a little bit limited just to limit the exposure from multiple people using the same piece of equipment. But if the spaces are set up, the equipment's pre-staged, and then you allot for time for cleaning before and after classes, I think that's the best thing you can do. The other thing,
so that was my question with regard to that is, are you running, and did we talk about this the other day? I think, are you going to run the same hour class and do 15-minute gap, or are you going to shorten the class and then do a 15-minute gap?
Yeah, I mean, obviously
15 is arbitrary number,
Yeah. What we talked about the other day is, and where we're headed is, it's going to be a shorter class because we're going to need more class times, right? There's going to be no option for 15 or 20 person classes, I'm assuming. And so if that's the case, and we're limited to 10 people in the gym at a time, so it's 9 plus a coach, well, then we're going to need more class times throughout the day to accommodate our members potentially. I'm also counting on the fact that there's going to be a handful of people that aren't ready to come back to the gym. So it's not like we're going to have our full group of athletes coming back into the gym, the same number of people per times a week as we had previously. But I think as of now, my thought is that we're going to go shorter class times. We're going to try to increase the number of options as far as that goes, and then limit the exposure to equipment to risk. We're lucky in the fact that we're in Florida, and as long as it doesn't rain on us, we can do stuff outside. So we've got space outside our doors to where we would have plenty of room for multiple people working out. We can pre-stage equipment out there and try to keep people away from each other, and hopefully prevent the spread of this stuff.
Is your space, is that outside area covered?
It's not covered.
It's not. Okay.
It's not covered. Yeah. So if it rains or different times in the day, when it gets, a couple months from now, when it's significantly hotter than it is now, then it'll be a little bit more of an issue. But in the short term, we've got some options there. I read something or heard something the other day about, you mentioned two options, which is just a flat cap on space, which is kind of weird. Like, if you had a 20,000 square foot space, but what were some of the numbers that you've either heard or read with regard to number of people per square feet? I want to say it was like something between 7 to 10 per 1,000 square feet or something like that. I don't know that I've seen or heard of numbers from that. And I'm kind of at the point where it's like, there's not a ton of value in me speculating an awful lot before it comes out and they actually tell me what it's going to be. Right. So I'm going on the assumption that pretty much my idea now is that there's going to be 10 people in the gym, just kind of based on what we saw leading up to this and the mandates to keep crowds of 10 or less still to this point. So that's what I'm expecting.
So before this, how many classes a day were you guys running at Drive?
Between 6 and 7 on the day, depending on the day.
And class type?
Yeah, day and class type, yep.
Yeah, we would run anywhere between 7 to 9 classes, and then we would have weightlifting open gym. So like technically you could call it like 10. And your space is a little bit bigger. Like, what's your total square footage there?
Total square footage is just over, like between 6,000 and 7,000 square foot.
That's what I thought.
We've got like over 4,000 of our main space. Then we have another 1,000 square foot space that's sectioned off, and then we have office and locker rooms and that kind of stuff. So we've got, to be honest with you, we've got plenty of space to where we could essentially do 2 classes overlapping and have we've got completely different rooms. So we would be all right there. And like I said, we've got a big field out front and out in front of our place too. So we've got plenty of space outside to do stuff as long as the weather allows for it. So there's definitely some opportunity there.
Yeah, we have something similar where we have like right at 11,000 square feet, but I have like a big roll up door in the middle where I can essentially, depending on what side you're on, you can't even access the other side without going outside. And then on kind of my side, on the weightlifting side, like I have like a barn door that I can close. So I have like 3 gyms. So I'm looking at roughly everybody's gonna have to do some math. I've seen a bunch of people who are going through and marking out their spaces, and now there's going to be like actual, when you come in, like you're going to be like reserve a spot, like kind of like reserving a bike. If you were going to do spin, like this is your area, like in the classes and designing stuff like that. I think there'll be some people doing that, and I think there'll be some people who are just doing it a little bit more loose, who are just running classes and saying, hey, based on the guidance we've been given, we're going to cap class size. You need to register beforehand for class and do this. But we're still going to run a full class schedule, or maybe even larger than we did before.
Yeah. And one of the things we might consider, which is what we did before we officially closed the doors, and we turned everything into like open gym times, to where we had like workouts scheduled or programmed, and we had coaches on the floor. But in order to distribute the number of people that showed up at a given time, instead of having a particular class where everybody's going to show up right then, and that's going to increase the gathering of people, is to have a wider time range of kind of open gym. So you kind of come and go as you please, hopefully to disperse the number of people that are in here at any given time. And then you've got a coach. It's not going to be quite as formal as far as the class goes, but we can still structure and provide some value there. And I think at this point, I feel like people are more interested in getting out of their house, for one, and having an opportunity to get around a facility or other people and do some training and use some different equipment and stuff like that, as opposed to really being anxious for the structure and the detailed coaching that they got beforehand. So I think if there's an option to the doors just simply being open, yet there's, you know, they're able to stay safe by not having a ton of people in the gym and not getting a ton of exposure to other people and potential germs. I think people will be okay with that to begin with, as we start to evolve and work our way back towards that standard schedule, and then the classes as we know and have operated previously. So
yeah, I would agree. I think this is where gym owners who are not, I mean, this is probably both a safety and business discussion, which is, you know, if you want people to come back in and use the facility, then those who are potentially like avid anti-open gymmers are probably going to have to reverse course on that. So just so that you can spread out the total member base a little bit. So we've been running open gym here throughout the day for a while at this point, but I would imagine we're probably going to see more usage of those time slots than we have in the past.
Yeah, same with us. And I mean, we've run some open gym before, but our clientele, there's not a ton of them that come in here and use that to do different or their own things. It's more so like, hey, today I've got other stuff going on during my normal class time, and I want to get the workout done earlier. So I think we'll coin it or call it an open gym, but it'll really be come in and do the workout.
Yeah, I mean, that's very much how ours is. Like our clientele, which is I'm sure very similar to yours, prefer to be in classes.
Yeah, we don't have many people that have these grandiose ideas of all this extra training they need to do. They just want to work out. They want to, you know, laugh and have fun with some people and get in and get out. So
are you doing, or do you guys have any plans of doing like additional cleaning, like the fog cleaning, or do you guys have a cleaning crew that comes in currently? Are you going to up that volume if you do?
We have a cleaning crew that comes in currently. And as far as determining whether to up the volume of that and see what the options are for that, it's same deal. It's going to kind of depend on what the rollout looks like and see what happens, see what kind of availability there is for some of those cleaning crews and how often we can get them in here. I just think in general, if we can limit the exposure to people touching and using equipment or being in the door, I think some of that cures itself, right?
Yeah, for sure. In St. Is your demographic a little bit older? When I say old, like not old, but like
our gym is full of mostly working professionals or families, and so it's like mid to upper 30s, early 40s. Although we've got some people in their late 20s. I mean, we've got people all over the map, but I would say that's the majority of our demographic. So
yeah, I was curious.
Families
I know some people have. Yeah, I know some people have some older. Like I was thinking about get like Gary's gym.
Yep.
Like he's got a really old population, so I'd imagine people like that are going to be probably a little bit more affected in this scenario than some, because
we've got some of those legends or masters classes, and oddly enough, those people have been pretty receptive to the online version of class and something that they can do from home. It's a little bit shorter class anyways. The equipment that they use even in the gym is pretty limited. And so if they've got some dumbbells or something at home, they just like to see each other and chat, and they can get their normal workout in. They don't need to see a barbell or a pull-up bar and that kind of stuff. So my assumption is that that demographic in that specific class that we offer will probably continue online before we open it back up to in person.
So then the other question, did you guys give away equipment or rent it out or whatever? Did you guys do anything like that?
We let people borrow equipment, and it was mostly easy stuff for them to move and maintain. So kettlebells, dumbbells, ab mats, medicine balls, stuff like that. Any of the bigger equipment we didn't really hand out.
So then the question for some people, because I've been trying to figure out in my mind, like, what would this look like? Is it an all or nothing? Is it kind of a blend of the two? For people that did give out all their equipment, for instance, like I did, like I have, I got 11,000 square feet, and there's probably enough equipment in here for like 2 people to work out. Like, I mean, we gave away everything. If you think you're going to have this kind of quasi return of the membership, how would you determine how much of the equipment you bring back in?
Well, I mean, for us, it's the the priority is going to be the business. And that was kind of the mindset with the equipment rental to begin with. And so if the doors are open back up, for the most part, I think it's going to be like, we need the equipment back here. And depending on what that opening looks like, and if we are truly limited and people aren't going to have access to our facility at all, then maybe we adjust and look at options as giving equipment. But I mean, we'll need and want our stuff here so we can provide the service to our members.
The other thing I would agree with you. I think I'll do some one-offs where I might let some people keep some stuff, but I'm probably gonna bring all of it back. And I'm probably gonna do it the full week before. So like right now, I think the target date is May 8th. So we're gonna open it up to have people start bringing stuff back on the 5th. So do like 4 or 5 days of equipment return, so that by the time we get to that, we'll probably have classes on the 9th. We'll probably run 3 or 4 classes in the morning on that Saturday, and then kind of like reopen on Monday. Yeah. But I'm going to need a week to get it all back, because it took me a week to give it all out. So I would imagine it might even take longer than that. But the other thing I was thinking about was, so I'm trying to think through all the problems that people are going to have to contend with, which is this one is a little bit more subtle. But if we're talking about this, for some people, they're going to have more manning of the gym or more classes, right? Which is more overhead on potentially less revenue.
Oh yeah.
So, I mean, what's your thoughts on that? Like, have you started to peel that onion at all?
Well, that's something that we've looked at and we've kind of considered at this point, is like, yeah, with more class times, there's going to be way more expense as far as the number of Clorox wipes and disinfectant that you're going to purchase, and figuring out how to do that. I've said, talking to people one-off, is I've not been as concerned with our business while this is going on, because we're in a position to manage this. The concern is going to be when the doors open back up. We're essentially reverting back to 3 to 5 years ago as far as what our membership looks like. I mean, we haven't lost a ton of members, but we've lost some members, and I'm not counting on everybody coming back as soon as the door opens. I think some people will. But there's a lot of, a good handful of people that have lost their jobs, and I don't expect them to figure out ways to pay me before they're making any money. So it's like, that's going to be the toughest thing, in my opinion, is like, man, our business has taken a step back in time, and operating it, once we are now offering more classes. And like you said, it's the biggest thing. There's going to be more overhead and less revenue at that point. So now we can handle this stuff because we can limit our overhead. We can limit our expenses. But once the doors open back up, the expenses are going to ramp right back up, or even more so. And the chance of more revenue right off the bat is going to be pretty tough to come by.
Yeah, no, I would agree. And that was something was my concern as well, like when this whole thing went down. And that's why I really pushed to use this time to work on the business, because I fully intend to have to be in the business more than I've been in it in a really long time, with regard to coaching classes, doing sales, because I just don't know what that revenue figure is going to look like. So I'm trying to tee up everything and redo systems and processes so that it can be as efficient as possible, because the reality is, like, I'm probably going to not go back to a one-man band, but I just don't think it's going to be the same. And I'm probably going to have to cut coaching hours for people and do some of the, the hard business owner stuff.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be just like it was before you were in a position to where your revenue supported you not being in there as much. Like it is, it's taken us back to where we're at. And I think, there's going to be some opportunity for potentially people that have recognized how important health and fitness is, that maybe they want to join the gym potentially. So that might support us. There might be some other businesses or gyms, unfortunately, that don't make it out of this thing, that provides a little bit of an influx for us. There might be people that sat at home and ate a bunch of crap and want to lose some weight, so they want to join our gym. So there's some opportunity for people for us to kind of increase our membership. But I still think it's going to be slow going, because even those people that want to join the gym, I'm sure they're going to be a little bit nervous to do so, at least in the short term of this kind of stuff. So I really don't know what this is going to look like.
I definitely think there's going to be like a potentially like a quick burst of people that want to get back into fitness. And I agree with you that have kind of, that are worried about getting sick later down the road. They're like, I got to do something with myself. But I think what I hope people have been doing with their time is using it productively so that they can, and have been thinking about what are the different scenarios and what would my business look like in these different scenarios. Like, am I going to end up, let's just say you're an owner who coaches 20 classes a month. Well, have you teed things up so that you can still get the business aspect of things done while coaching 50 to 60 classes a month? Because I mean, you and I both know that that's not a 9 to 5 job if you coach 60 classes a month, but it feels like a 80-hour week if you coach 60 to 70 classes a month, and that's a lot. So I think people really should, because let's just say a lot of people have, I know some states are opening up this weekend, but let's just say most people have about 2 to 3 weeks before they start this phased opening of their businesses. We have about 3, I think. I'm trying to tee that up and figure out, okay, well, if I'm going to have to do lead follow-up and coach 50 hours and potentially do onboarding for clients, what the hell does my week look like? How do I block that off so that I can manage all of them? Because if you're the only person on the schedule, then you can't facilitate bringing in new people. I can't answer emails, so I think you really should be looking at how do all these things fit if I'm going to have less time.
Yeah, you got to be deliberate on what your time looks like. And so, cater and block off time to where you're answering emails, where you're bringing people in. I think this also is going to create a lot of new opportunity. It's like, you look at it, it's like if I'm running a 30 or 40 minute class that's kind of limited in exposure as far as to what the equipment that we're going to be using is, well, then maybe I'm able to onboard people with, a 20-minute phone call beforehand, and then your first time coming in to work out, instead of what used to be a one-on-one environment, hey, the class is only going to have 8 other people in it anyways. I know that my coaching ability, along with my staff's coaching ability, can bring somebody into the fold in that phase. So maybe now all of a sudden we had this, pretty extensive onboarding process that can be streamlined, either eliminated or folded into something else. And so now instead of twice the hours, it's the same hours that I'm putting into coaching. So I think there's going to be some opportunities to kind of mend things together there that will allow you to do some of this stuff a little bit better. Like you said, if you think ahead and you prep for this stuff.
That's my fear. I mean, my fear is that everybody's so caught up in trying to figure out how to pay the bills and try to get their triple P money and what that looks like, and talking to the bank, that I haven't talked to a ton of people that are kind of peeling back the layers of their business, saying like, how is this going to function when I get back to the gym? It's a lot of them are just kind of sitting and waiting. And my fear is like, you're not, like, it's going to be an onslaught of things that you're not prepared for. I think we can quasi predict them. I mean, I don't know how you feel about that, but I think for the most part, you could come up with a number of scenarios, and like pretty much what's going to happen is going to fall in one of these 5 buckets, roughly.
Yeah, I think we can have an idea of it. It's not going to be completely offhand. I just think whatever it's not going to be what it was before, right? I mean, I look at it just in general, even when things open back up, are you like going out to restaurants, you like eating, are you going to be gung-ho and ready to go and do that right off the bat?
Me personally, yeah. I'm going to do, yeah.
Jay, what about you?
I'm going to go to a concert.
You're going to sit at home. He hasn't left his house in 4 months. There's no way he leaves for the next 2 years.
Yeah. I will do very minimal differently than I'm doing right now. At least
you're staying home, right?
Yeah, he's waiting. He's waiting for the vaccine, so he'll be in his house for the rest of his life.
I disagree. I think there will be a vaccine, but
based on what?
I don't really have anything to. I mean, I'll go to appointments. I'll get my hair cut again, like things like that. But I wasn't doing anything crazy.
You go to the salon and get it styled.
Are you gonna wear deodorant? Are you gonna start wearing deodorant again?
No, I already talked to Roz about that. I said I will wear deodorant when I go out to work out, but not just standard throughout the day.
Great. Yeah. I'm really proud of you, Jay.
Yeah, I think
there's no sense to go out. There's no, what's the, I mean, obviously in your situations as box owners, yeah, but I'm fine. I mean, if you're looking at, hey, would I go back to a gym right now? The answer would be no.
Yeah. And I don't think you're unique in that sense, right? I think there's going to be a lot of people like that. So like I repeated earlier, it's like the concern for me is not whether I'll make it through these couple months where things are closed. It's like, what does it look like when it comes back? And how do we make that happen? So preparing for that, thinking through what some of that stuff will work, and then trying to evaluate your business, not only to improve processes, but to figure out what you really want from it. This is kind of a good reset and a good opportunity. There's certain things that you don't want to be doing and you don't want your business doing that, then eliminate them. Focus on the things that you are good at and the things that you do want to do, because you're probably going to go back to spending a lot more time doing that particular thing, and you're not going to be very happy if you're doing something you're not liking.
And it's also a good time for gym owners to, very much like what you said, but to be a little bit more specific, is to do a reset on their business from the standpoint of, okay, let's say you are going to have a lower member base. Well, how do you recoup that revenue? Which is like, okay, well, maybe I offer more of a premium service, but the price point goes up, and I can recoup that right out of the gate. And I do execute on that idea of having arbitrarily like 30% less members, but with at the same revenue price point. And this is because this has been an opportunity for a lot of people to dive into the more one-on-one coaching, nutrition, and stuff like that. And maybe that's how people move forward, which is your memberships is $225 a month, and I only need 75 members to sustain it moving forward.
Yeah, just got to figure out and make sure that you're showing an increased value for that.
Yeah, you can't just bump the price up.
Interested to see the people that supported you through this stuff and continue to pay you, and then they show back up, and you're like, thanks for sticking with me. We're going to double your rate. And it's the same thing you get, or less options. It's like, figure out what that increased value proposition is, and find the people that are willing to pay for it.
Well, that's why I think Dr. Sean Pastuch brought it up, which is I was really glad to hear it, which is kind of the route that we went, which the goal was to provide a minimum of 100% more value to them at their current price point, whatever they're paying. So like, we gave you the equipment, we're working with your on your programming and stuff like that, and then we're doing these weekly check-ins. We're modifying your program if you need it, writing a little accessory programming, like stuff that would always usually cost more money. We're giving free nutrition plans, meal plans, all of that stuff at no additional cost. And I don't think it's unreasonable if you were doing this on the front end and then you give it away for free and then say, hey, listen, if you do want those things, like, it's going to cost more money moving forward. And some people are like, yeah, that was the shit. Like, I love it. And it was totally worth the extra $30 to $45, whatever that price point would be, to move forward. And if you lost 10 members, well, I can make that up, by bumping up average client value on 5 of them, over the course of 4 months. And now I've got a new membership offering that I didn't have before, that more people may opt into coming in as I get new members, those people who are looking for that stuff. And you've kind of just added some stuff to your core suite of offerings, if you will. So I agree with you. I think there's a lot of opportunity if you're paying attention and trying to, like, where's the white space here, and like, what are people going to be looking for when they come out of it? And I don't, going back to what we talked about the other day, I don't think it's all virtual stuff. I think it's some, but I don't think that's where people should be putting the bulk of their attention.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I mean, there's going to be an option for it. I think there's been some cool things that's come about, putting videos together to explain the workouts that you can put on your website, or you can put on whatever your score,
YouTube or whatever,
whatever it is that you can put out there, and forcing us to do some of that kind of stuff, I think is going to be cool. It's something that will carry over going forward. But yeah, turning into completely virtual is not going to be a thing, at least that I'm going to be interested in, or that I'm going to be going after. So.
All right,
I think
guys.
It's going to be, Oh yeah. Okay. Jay's going to end it since he's been so involved in the conversation.
With much of this conversation, it just goes back to, the last few conversations on this, where there's no right or wrong. You're going to do one way, Todd's going to do it one way, I'm going to do another way, but certainly insight into what's going to happen, how we're going to revamp everything, like Todd's referring to. But I'm very positive there will be a vaccine and things will be back to normal by the end of
Let's make a
2020.
wager.
In
Let's
fact,
make a wager.
Jay's sitting in this room right now working on that vaccine.
Yeah. I want to make a wager. I want to make a friendly wager for the world to hear about the vaccine.
Let's go.
If there's no vaccine in 12 months, Jay has to do 100 back squats at 185.
Yeah.
Unbroken.
Deal. Done.
April 23rd. April
23rd.
Or he's going to do 21 front squats at 185. Let's just go back to that same workout, Jay. Let's go back to that same workout and see if you can do it unbroken. How's your fitness right now? Right now?
Real quick. Yeah, his fitness is terrible. He can pedal the shit out of that bike, but he can't front squat a barbell.
If there's a correlation between your ability to pedal and your front squat, I'll go 21 unbroken at 225.
Too bad there's not. So if you own, since you like to refer to yourself as a former gym owner, Jay, on a very regular basis, what would you do if you had to open up your gym? Let's say you're opening up on May 1st. What would it look like? You have one class with one client.
First of all, right? But you're saying you're allowed to.
No. You have to, right? Like you're a business owner. You can't not open your gym because you have rent to pay.
Well, let's be clear.
Not opening up is not an option unless you're going to file bankruptcy.
Well, that's not necessarily true. There are going to be boxes that their town allows them to open, their government, whatever, their city, but decide not to, and people continue to pay virtually.
Like that's another short-term thing. That might be a couple of weeks at most.
I'd say.
Like that,
but my point is
to see how it plays. Yeah,
correct. But let's say you're right, Fern. I need it. Like, hey, my members are like, hey, if you don't open the day the town says. I mean, assuming there's no other rules put in place that we have to abide by, certain number per square foot, etc. I would open. I would just be very safe about it. I'd be spraying everything, doing the right things, trying to keep a distance. But yeah, it's your business and you have to. I'd consider maybe one special class for the older population. Maybe I would do that. But I would probably also encourage them not to come in, until they feel comfortable. But you're right. As a business owner, you got to open and you got to grow your business again.
If let's say you do have a population like that, what would you do for them? So you're going to recommend they not come in, but we could agree that that's arguably the population that needs fitness and health more than anybody. Not
necessarily in a time where they're at risk. They don't, but yes.
I know. I mean, that's arguably when they need it the most. But let's assume that you've told them not to come into the gym. So what is your solution that isn't just stop working out?
Well, to be clear, just because they're not coming to the gym, it's not stop working out. I'd probably put out a special program, continue to put out a special program for people that are either elderly, immunocompromised, or just afraid to come back to the gym. So I'd continue putting that out there, trying to keep them coming in. And then for, say, 60 plus, much like some supermarkets did, I'd probably say, hey, 6 a.m. class is for you guys only. The gym is cleaned every night. You're the first ones to touch everything. If you feel comfortable, that is reserved for you.
Okay, I'll take it.
Yeah, I mean, is it the best thing? I don't know, but at least it's something.
Just curious. What you do.
You guys gonna take that now? You stealing that?
I love that your first reaction was, I'm still not opening. Yeah, I don't have to.
I'm not leaving my couch. No
that's
chance.
That's the difference with not currently owning a box. Yeah, I don't.
I'm not putting deodorant on.
But I would say, if I did still own a box, you're right. I mean, as soon as you open, your members are not going to want to continue to pay for virtual classes. They're going to want to come into a box.
Well, it's also like the second you open, but it's also the second you open, the landlord is going to want rent.
True. I mean, he may very well want rent as soon as the town dictates it's okay to be open. He may say, "Cool, there's my cue. I've been lenient with you for the last month or two. You owe me, this much on the 1st." So you may not have a choice there.
Yeah, that's why I kind of pressed the issue, because I think that, there's people that want to be safe and that would prefer not to open, but I don't think that's a real thing. Once the city says open back up, like life will resume, and you got to sort that out.
Absolutely. Well, good thing I don't own a box anymore, because I don't want to start using deodorant. All right, guys. Good chat. Hopefully that helped. If you have questions, as always, if you want to just know Todd's phone number, feel free to hit me up. I'm happy to pass that along to you.
Yeah, perfect.
All right, guys.
Write us more of those letters, Todd. Write us more of those letters.
Yeah, give me some new crayons.
Thanks for listening to Best Hour of Their Day. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. First of all, it's free. How cool is that? There's a creation tool that allows you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer, so it becomes super simple. Some of these episodes with Fern or Todd or myself chatting with one another, we've done right within the app itself. Anchor will make it easy to distribute your podcast to all platforms, Spotify, Apple, and many more. And you can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make an awesome podcast in one place. All you have to do is download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started today.
Come on. Who doesn't have Spotify at this point? And if you were unaware, Spotify now is offering podcasts. That's right. On Spotify, you can listen to all your favorite artists, but also podcasts in one place for free. Spotify has a huge catalog of podcasts on every topic, including the one you're listening to right now, Best Hour of Their Day. On Spotify, you can follow your favorite podcasts so you never miss an episode. Premium users can even download episodes to listen to offline wherever you are, something I always do before I hop on a plane. And you can even easily share what you're listening to with your friends on Instagram and other social media platforms. Here's the deal. If you haven't done so already, be sure to download the Spotify app, search for Best Hour of Their Day on Spotify, or browse some other podcasts if you want. You can find them in your library tab. And also make sure to follow me so you never miss an episode of Best Hour of Their Day. Thanks again for listening to Best Hour of Their Day, and thanks again to our special guest. We appreciate all you guys do for us with Best Hour of Their Day when it comes to sharing our posts on Instagram, when it comes to subscribing to us on YouTube, when it comes to the constant feedback. We are grateful and we appreciate it. We are trying to build a community based on coaching development and becoming the best version of yourself. And it goes without saying that we couldn't do without all of you. So if you haven't already, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Season 1 of Dropping In is out. We are getting tremendous feedback and we'd love for you to check it out. Leave us a comment on there. Head over to our Instagram. Give us a follow. Like our pictures. Feel free to share anything that resonates with you. And if you have any questions, comments, concerns, or feedback for us, please don't hesitate. Email us, besthouroftheirday@gmail.com. Thanks again. Until the next episode, we hope you've had the best hour of your day.